beat myself if I didn't get that level of score. And that was my mindset going into the exam. And most of the things in the exam, like for instance, you can write the exam, right? I don't know if Joseph might have like a different opinion on it, but you can write the exam right now, get a score, write the same exam 30 minutes later and get like it's significantly different score. That's, for me, that's how like the standardized test works. And so if you're going into it, don't beat yourself to it that, oh, if I don't get this particular score, I'm done. Just go with an open mind. And for me, like, standardized test is more like a stress test. How stressed you are also kind of factors into the score that you get. And so, like, be a bit relaxed when you're writing the exam, and just know that you know a lot. So that's why you're going to sit in front of the PC. And be more calm can actually help you a lot.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much for that, Samuel. Yeah, so Joseph, you want to say something about that?
Sure. I think there are very interesting points that Samuel was raising here, because I think for the GMAT and for maybe even the GRE, it's more for the GMAT, I would say, because I think I know the GMAT more than the GRE. I think the very first thing you want to know going in, it's not a test of your ability to crunch numbers, or it's not a test of your ability to understand English. Like, it's not a math or an English exam, even though you have the verbal and the quantitative marks. So once you get above that, you can really just come to the level, like everybody writing the GMAT, I think, starts on the same level, no matter what your background is. So even if you've done advanced calculus in university, it doesn't count in the GMAT. Like, the GMAT quant doesn't require that level of maths. The level of maths required in the GMAT, you've probably done it by the time you maybe finish secondary school or something. So it's not a test of the maths, actually, but it's a test of how you understand, rules. You can actually remain calm. You can actually speed up, do things, fast, and you can actually follow logic. I think it's a test of those things that you would eventually need to use in the business world. I think you want to first have that mindset. I think the second mindset you want to have when going into this type of exam, it's an endurance game. It's not a sprint, right? So when I wrote the GMAT was still, I think, 4 hours. I think they've cut it down to 3.5 hours now, and it's a 4 hours where you are constantly trying to beat the time. So if you see that as an endurance, trying to test your stress level, one of the things you then prepare for, even while preparing for the GMAT, is the ability to just remain calm, to be able to distress, to be able to remain, to have that same pace you start with, even at the end. Because once you get tired, then you start making mistakes. You start, clicking the wrong answers, and you start getting frustrated. I think that's the second thing you want to kind of know about the GMAT. I think the third mindset, and I think Sam had, picked up on that also, or talked about it a bit, is it's not the only thing in your application. Like, getting a 770 or a 790 doesn't guarantee you a place in most MBA programs. So when you're preparing for the GMAT, whatever time you've allocated to it, you want to also make sure that you're not, letting other parts of your application suffer. You want to also spend some time, especially time you're taking to distress, to rest, to think about, okay, what other thing can I highlight in my application? How is my story coming together? Who am I reaching out to the schools I'm applying to? You just don't want to make it GMAT, because I've seen, and maybe not Africans, but our brothers from Asia, they get like 790, and they still don't get into the schools, because it's more than just your GMAT, right? It's your story, it's your recommendation, it's like the things you've done. So you also want to spend some time trying to fine-tune those as you also prep for the exam. And I think one other thing that Samuel mentioned that I would also reiterate is, like, it really doesn't matter how many times you write the GMAT. When I was going to write the GMAT, my friend had said, oh, you know what, just at least at the minimum, prepare to write it twice. You don't need to, but it could happen. Like it happens to people, right? People write it twice, 3 times, because it's a learning process, and you kind of hit a learning curve at some point, right? There's a learning curve to it, and you just want to make sure that it's not I'm learning this concept just to know it or to cram it or something. Is to be able to actually apply it. That's why you see people would write, the GMAT now, get a particular score, write it 4 months later with a lot of prep, and still get the same 640. Because it's not just I've completed the syllabus, I've read everything that needs to be read. You never really finish reading it. Is how much do I understand this particular concept? How much can I flag this particular concept in the question? How much can I look at a question and understand what they are really asking? How can I see a question that is worded in a very convoluted manner, and I just know that, what these guys are trying to test is odd and even numbers. It's like it's that kind of a game. So I think you also want to just have that mindset that it's not, how many times you kind of would write it, but what you learn as you write it, what you learn as you go from, practice test to actual test. Because as you then learn, as you just see, okay, what are my mistakes? Like Samuel talked about is, when you read the sentence, you want to really understand, what does this mean? Does it really make sense? Does it look like something I'll see on a normal day? That's not like what they're testing there. Is what is wrong with this sentence structurally? Is it, parallelism, or is it, some kind of exaggeration? Like you want to be able to spot those. Once you start learning those skills and developing those, then you can actually start crossing, those scores. I think those are like the three things that I think.
Okay. So thank you very much. Since you guys have already started to talk about the other part of your application and understanding that GRE or GMAT is not just one part, the question I'm getting here is, to what degree does your score sway the admission officer to give you admission, or say, you know what, we're going to give you X amount of money as well?
Okay, I can say what I know, because I'm not an admission officer, so a lot of these things are just what I deduce from what eventually happened. But that said, I think the GMAT or your GMAT score does not significantly make your application, right? It might, but it doesn't significantly make your application. So for most schools, you see that they post a median score and they say, for a school, the median score is X. And what does the median score mean? It means that about half of the people get above that score and about half of the people get below that score, right? And it's good to be as close to the median score as possible. It just makes sure that in terms of score, you're around the average. But then it happens that, you are a few basis points or points below the median score, which is also fine, because at the end of the day, it's what's at the other part of your application, what's your work experience to date, how would that sit in a class, what's your story to date, how much of an impact story do you have, what do your recommenders have to say about you, and how impressive is that, by how much have you actually made contact in the school, and you understand how the school works, and you're really stoked about coming to the school. And all those comes together, and you can think about it as a checklist, where, you have all this, things, and you're going to have to, start breaking it down into how do you score on this checklist? Is this strong? Is this strong? And I don't think all candidates are strong everywhere, right? I think most candidates are strong in a lot of places and have, 1 or 2 weak areas, which is fine, right? And I think one thing that, as I was thinking about it today, I'm like, I've seen a couple of people, not one, not two, not three, who, apply to school, including the school I'm in, including the LBS. And they just like their story, they like what they've done, and they reach out to them to say, oh, we think you should retake the GMAT score. Let's see, maybe you can do better on the GMAT score. I've seen people, even after their applications, or even after they've gotten admitted, get a second chance at writing the GMAT score. But till today, I've not seen someone who had a GMAT score get a second chance at writing their story. So I'm not saying someone who's got a great GMAT score and the school reaches out to them and say, oh, please, can you rewrite your essay? We just want it to be a little stronger, right? So it kind of shows you where the GMAT is on the, on the pecking order of things. It's important, but I don't think it's the most important thing. That said, when you start getting into things around scholarships, around, funding and things like that, I know a lot of schools use, merits, and a lot of, sponsors and other people are just blatantly lazy and just look at test scores. And I think that the percentage of people who just base everything on test scores are very, 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 insignificant compared to the entire universe of people, of schools, and just funders giving money for MBA. So I'd say, don't prepare for your GMAT or your GRE, prepare super hard for it, it meant everything, but know that it's not the most important thing. You want to make your story sound, great. You want to show impact. You want to show that you know the school and you've connected people with the school. I think that's my opinion on how important GMAT is.
Thank you very much. Samuel.
Yeah, I mean, I fully agree with everything that Joseph has said. Recently I was listening to a podcast, Joe Rogan's podcast, and they were talking about the same thing. Why is it that people from, Southeast Asia or Asia, they have high scores, but most of them are rejected? And actually, when you check the average of the rejected students from those areas, their GMAT score is around 760. That's crazy. And the Harvard, one of the women from the Harvard admissions office, who is an Asian, was talking about it, that when they say they are checking for personality in their applications, they actually mean it. And they realize most people with those kind of scores, especially coming from that part of the world, lack the personality in their application. And so they don't just want to fill their schools with people who are smart or book long. They want to fill the school because the schools also have a goal to churn out certain type of leaders. And whatever student they take into their school, they are evaluating the student against what they want the product to be. You get it? And so the schools are mainly looking for personality. And the scores is great, but if your story is not right, I like what you said, that there has never been a time when a school reaches out to someone, oh, you had 770 in GMAT. Can you rewrite your essay or rewrite your story? The story is what really makes you human or different amongst a cluster of students. And so try your best to write the GMAT, but focus a lot on the other sides of your application and try to connect with the schools a lot. When the schools realize that this person is very interested in my school, trust me, they try to make every argument for you to come. I have some of the admission office people reached out to me about some Ghanaian or Nigerian students who are applying to that, and they were like, have you talked to this guy before, or have you had a conversation, because he mentioned your name in the interview, that you had a conversation, and what do you think about the person? They are looking for someone who is interested in the school. Don't get a score that would raise eyebrows. If you get a score that is oh, this is a bad score, then it is going to hurt you. But if you get a very decent score, trust me, the other part of your application is what is going to work for you, and that is what is going to even put your relatively lower score above someone who has a higher score but with less personality in his or her application.
Thank you very much for that, Samuel and Joseph. This is going to log us out in 3 minutes. If I could crave your indulgence just to spare us a couple of more. Okay, I think we're still within our time. We started 5:30. Okay, so yeah, please just log back in with the same link and we can take your questions and we can round up from there. I think I want us to quickly talk about the GRE GMAT dichotomy. I've received many questions about that. Which one should I take? Which one shouldn't I take? I personally took the GRE, and I have reasons why I push one exam or the other, but I just want us to take your views on that as well.
So should we log out and come back, or?
Oh, no, you can start that, Samuel, and if that logs us out, we'll take the remaining part.
Oh, okay. I mean, based on, I mentioned earlier that, as at the time that I was writing the exam, I thought business school, GMAT, and then, if you're doing any other master's, GRE, but that is it's totally false. Like, schools also accept GRE, and most of the Africans that I'm in this school with wrote GRE. And most of them wrote GRE because, they realized they weren't good. The GRE quant is relatively easier as compared to the GMAT. That's in my opinion. But the GRE verbal is like quite tough as compared to the GMAT verbal. And so for some people who felt that, they were very good with verbal, but not so good with quant, they opted for the GRE. And people who felt they were very good with quant and not so good with the verbal, opted for GMAT. But I would say between the two exam business schools, most people report GMAT, but I don't think business schools relatively have like a preference. If you have very good score in GRE, you'll definitely get in. And I have a friend who started GMAT and was struggling with it because he struggles with quant a lot. And then he switched to GRE, and he had some decent admin. I think he's going to Ross, I think. So like between the two exams, just know where your strength lies. Just if you have time, you can do like a sample test of the two exams and see which one you think fits like you very well, and then go with whichever exam. It's not going to hurt you. That's what I would say.
Thank you very much, Samuel. Yeah, Joseph, you want to say something about that?
I could just quickly chime in here before we get kicked out. So, so I think Samuel has really said some of the things about the differences between GMAT and GRE, and I think it all boils down to what really works for you, and what you really want. So if you think about just GMAT and GRE just having straightforward quant, if you know quant, if you're really good at quant, I think if you're really, really good at quant and you don't have so much time to prep, then you might have a very good ride on the GRE quants. Because even though if you're historically good at quant, you probably need to relearn a lot of things in GMAT because it's now coming into logic and stuff. So if you don't have time and you're very good at quant, then you can start looking at GRE, I think. Even though they say it's easier, but then it's more straightforward. But the verbal is the trickier one. The verbal is less logic, more of understanding and getting vocabulary. So taking the scores more. But then you have some of these employers, some of this kind of sponsors that ask you for your test scores. And when you're comparing with most MBA, they just use this reference, MBA reference. A lot of people that I talk to, outside business school admissions don't know what a 312 GRE score means. It's going to change. I think it's going to change over time. But I just think apart from business school, I think for recruiting, especially if you have a very high score, it's just harder for someone to decode what a 320 is versus what a 740 is, I think. So I think that's why I prefer the GMAT. But otherwise, you just do what works for you because the real aim is to get into school. And if you think this is going to be faster for me because I've got this kind of predisposition, then why not just do it so you get into school? Because in itself, it's not an end, it's a means to an end, right?
Thank you very much for that. There's a question here I have for you guys. It says, how do you start a couple of weeks or days before your exam? What should you do?
Well, I can go. So I just spent the final weeks just solving and not learning, trying to learn the materials again or do a review or something I just spent most of the time solving practice tests, because whilst you solve it, you come across the tricks, you understand the tricks better, and you come across new tricks. So I think my final 3 weeks, I was just solving questions. And that was like how I became comfortable with the questions, and two, like identified some of the things that I needed to work on. And if I see something that I've never come across before, then I'll go back to the book and do more research on it. But in most cases, just solving the questions makes you more, how do I put it? Like, makes you more conversant with the questions and what you can expect in the exam.
Thank you very much for that. Joseph?
Sure thing. So I think it makes a lot of sense to just spend like your final weeks, just going through, that last minute questions and revising questions over and over, and just looking at, what are my weak points? Can I really identify them? Or can I look at this question? I see I got it wrong. Can I tell myself in retrospect why I got it wrong? Right? I think it's, even revising, going back to your practice questions, because that's the good thing about things like GMAT practice question. Like, you can go back and say, why do I miss this question? Or even resetting them and doing them over again. Just going over and saying that, you're progressing in terms of solving questions. But I think as you get closer to the exam, I don't even say like maybe 2 days or a day before the exam, I would really advise you just shut off. Like you're done. Like what you learned a day before is not going to like change things massively. And I think it's good to get into like a relaxed mode the day before the exam. Like, do whatever makes you relax. If you listen to music, if you run, if you swim, just do something that just calms your mind down, because you need it. Because it's a long run on the day of the exam, and you need to be to have that constant pace. So you don't want to be tired. You don't want to be stressed during the exam. So you need to have taken the 24 hours or 36 hours before the exam just to chill out, relax, be with friends, take your mind off the exam, and then go into the exam with everything you've learned. I think being relaxed could massively change your score.
Yeah, I see Samuel nodding. Do you want to say something about that?
Oh yeah, yeah, you need some level of calmness before you go into the exam. Like, whatever you do in the last minute or last day, you stressing about it isn't going to make any difference. Like, just sit down, relax, play some game. I was playing video games, and like anytime I did that in my second exam, I increased the score a bit. In my third exam, I increased the score. Like, just don't stress yourself. This is not like university exam where you might come across something in the last minute and it's going to help you. This is you already know everything. So just put your mind off and go into this. I perfectly agree with that one.
I have another question for you guys here, and it's about the pandemic. People, as this person is asking, considering COVID and the likelihood of everything moving online, should I go to business school? Should I apply for business school in the fall, or should I wait a year? Samuel, you can. Okay, Joseph, you can go on.
I can go. I mean, the truth of the matter is, not just business school education, but the world will change after COVID, right? And a lot of things will change, and we don't know to what extent things will change, right? That's one. And I think two is, even when you then focus on the business education, and if things will change and everything will go online, or things will move partly online, the basic reason for doing an MBA wouldn't really change, right? People will still need people with business skills, with the leadership skills, with a kind of network that an MBA program gives you, all right? And I think the world will get better, even if this is how it has to continue the first year, or continue in your... Sorry, someone asking a question?
Sorry, so that's someone's
okay.
Unmuting.
Or if things will remain online for the first year or the second year, no one knows. But even at that, it probably will become the new normal. And the benefit of doing an MBA program wouldn't change, right? You will still kind of get to grow the network. You will grow, even though it won't be physically, but maybe that's how the world will be. Now we're all talking about this. maybe 5 months ago or a year ago, you wouldn't have thought about, oh, there's a Joseph sitting down in London that could come to this webinar. There would have been a couple of people gathered in a room somewhere in Lagos or wherever, and they'll be limited to that. And this is just providing those new opportunities for us, right? So I think if you made the decision to go to business school, even though you might not get like the full experience, nobody knows what the experience is going to be like 1 year time. So if you got an opportunity to go now, I would say go now. And the world will change, but we'll always adapt, and people will still need business school graduates. And as long as you keep yourself ahead of the curve, in whatever time, you'll still remain relevant. So I think that's cool.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that. Someone is asking in... Okay, Joseph, were you saying something?
No, I wasn't.
Oh, okay. So someone is asking in the chat box, I'd like to know if your CFA, charter, or candidacy in Samuel's case helped in your application in any way. I know Joseph also did CFA, so you can chime in once Samuel's done.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't think during the application they ever talked about my CFA. Maybe it was level 1. Maybe it contributed, but as far as I know, when it came to the interview, nothing about my CFA. It was more about like what I did in Ghana, and my experience working, like my experience working outside work and all those things. Like nothing about the CFA came up. But that notwithstanding, I think for recruitment, it helps you a lot when you are doing recruitment, especially in the finance sector. Like, it kind of gives them the confidence that you have had and you know something, at least a bit about what you are applying for and all those things. But for the MBA application, honestly, I don't know if it contributed to it, but there was no conversation around that. Maybe it was just because I was a candidate. If maybe I was a holder, it would have been different conversation.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that. Joseph?
Yeah, so I'd say, some of these things, nobody really knows what contributes to your, candidacy. But that said, I think in my case, and just reflecting back on like my interview and the entire process and looking at my classmates, I've got like other certifications, is in of themselves, they really don't say anything about you, right? But then when you talk about your reason for coming to the MBA, your post-MBA goals, and then you can connect the dots with all the experiences you've had. So you said, when you were younger, you had this dream of whatever, and all those grandeur things that we write in our, in our essays. And then you want to connect the dots with everything you have. So it's not just a CFA. Why did you do an ACCA? Why do you have a PMP? How does that, contribute to your MBA goals? And if you really can show someone that this certification I have or this particular thing I've done is a plus in the direction of where I want to go to, then it helps you with your application. Because what the schools really want to see is, does this person understand where they're going to? Are they already on a path there that the MBA can then help them push it? Right. So you want to be able to show that these certifications were done because I'm on a path going somewhere. And I know why even with this certification, I know what the limitation is and how the MBA coupled with this will help me get there. I think it helps better in that light than in just, you just have a CFA. Okay, yeah, you have a CFA, you have a 740. So what? So I think you must, like consultants, I don't know if they're consultants on the call, you must be able to explain the so what, with whatever you have on your CV or whatever certification you have. That said, depending on the sector you're going into also, it kind of really helps you, right? It helps you to show that I've got experience in this sector, which it really helps in recruiting. And for example, like CFA, where everybody thinks, it's hard. Everybody has like their own opinions around. It's hard to get a CFA. It's easy to get a CFA. When you're working and you have a CFA, it just also gives you that, that air that, you can handle stuff. You can handle stress. You're a go-getter. You can do more. So it just helps people just a little bit, actually during recruiting. I would agree with Samuel on that. But I mean, if you don't have a CFA or if you don't have a professional certification. I know tons of people who have nothing but a BSc degree and a fantastic story of impact and a great career that got into business school.
Thank you very much, guys. For all participants and those listening to our guests, if you have any question anymore, now is the time. You can unmute yourself and ask your questions before we say goodbye. Don't worry, our guests don't bite. So just give us another 30 seconds to put our thoughts together. And if not, we can round up.
I mean, I think an important part of the MBA program and the MBA experience is really asking questions, right? So it's really like a good skill to have. And it's something that really helps you, like in your interview, to like ask questions.
It seems Nnamdi has a question.
Oh, great.
Okay, right. So,
pop people up.
Hi, my name is Nnamdi.
Great. Hi.
Yeah. So this is, well, it's a question, but I mean, it's called from everything I've gathered from what you said so far, both of you, and it has to do with the amount of preparation required. I work for an engineering consulting firm, Aaron, and my hours are high pressure, high demand hours. In fact, it's almost the only time we can carve out is just time to sleep, So I have two options in mind. One is trying to orchestrate my move away from the office to site, maybe like what consultants will call an implementation consultant. So I'm away from the office, so there are no prying eyes. I can easily have spare hours to myself. And the other one is to look for a block of time, say my leave, but towards the time I'm supposed to write, just wrap everything up. But I only have that one shot. So I know this is in tandem with most of what you said, but if I do just 1 month straight, no other prep whatsoever, 1 month and then bam, write and go, is that sufficient? 1 month of just my time, take it out of the office, everything shut down, and let it go from there.
Okay, Joseph, Joseph is on mute.
You're on mute, Joseph.
Okay, I'm on mute anymore.
Oh, sorry. So I was saying that it's hard to kind of like put a time into it, right? And it's super hard. It's unlike an exam like CFA when you have like a curriculum. You can say if you put 300 hours, no matter what kind of 300 hours it is, even if it's 24 hours over 20 days or whatever, it's just hard to say that for the GMAT. But that said, if you have a block of 1 month and all you do is the GMAT and you just focus on learning it in the right way, like having the right mindset, like a couple of things we spoke about, like thinking about this as more of a game that has rules rather than being an engineer and understanding maths and stuff like that. I think you can actually and you put in a lot of time for practice. Like you get a lot of practice questions, practice tests, just random practice questions, and you spend all of your time on it. I think you can significantly, attain a good score. Like I know people who have taken 2 weeks, even though they've written before, and they had not so great scores, and they've increased their points by 50, 70 points on the GMAT. So I think 1 month is a very good time. But I think even before in the time to that 1 month, you just want to at least start doing some little reading, even if it's 10 minutes on your way to work, even if it's during lunch. You can't tell me there's no time to have lunch. Like just trying to get like the concept, trying to understand what the different aspects are, like the background reading, such that when you go into your 1 month, you know what you're doing, you know what you're working on, you know what you're speeding up on, right? So I think it's not impossible. You just need to structure it properly.
Thank you, Joseph. You want to say something?
Yeah, I mean, this kind of advice is very difficult to give because, like, people assimilate information in different ways, and so I would say, like, I've seen people on YouTube say how I scored 730 in 2 weeks, and people took like years to score 700, right? So it depends on how you assimilate information, but I'm pretty sure if you give it your undivided attention for one straight month, you should be able to get something that you can show for. But yeah, it all depends on how personally you think you will be able to, handle, like, having undivided attention, and handle the information in the material. And just know that it is tricks you're trying to find. You're not trying to learn for an exam. You're trying to solve like something like Rubik's Cube or something like that, like tricks. You're trying to find tricks. So depending on how you approach the material, 1 month could be enough, 1 month could not be enough.
And to add to what Samuel has said, I think what you could also do is don't take that 1 month before your exam. Take it far away from your exam. So you can have 2-3 months of taking practice tests. You know that 1 month you're taking it to really understand the tricks and get yourself into that GRE or GMAT mood. And the next 2-3 months you're taking practice tests and you're solving what you did wrong. We have 2 questions quickly. Oh, Anambi, yep. No,
I'm just thanking guys. Thank you for everything.
Oh, okay. Thank you for asking the question. We have 2 questions. Kim is asking, I'm sure you guys must have seen this. When reaching out to alum, what should the conversation be about? And how should you prep your talk with alum? I think it's a very great question, because I'm sure you get calls every day and LinkedIn invites. What are some of the things you don't want to see in a call? What are some of the questions you don't want to ever hear, or that you roll your eyes when they ask you that kind of question? So you can talk about that. And then while talking about that, Chuks has also asked, did you guys get rejected by business schools with your stellar score? If so, please mention. We can just take that 2 questions together and we can round it up for today. Okay, we can start with Samuel.
Okay, so with reaching out to alums, so I think it goes a very long way when you reach out to people who are in the school, especially when there are people from your region. Like, let's say if you reach out to Africans, because sometimes the school reaches out to them to ask about like people who are applying or people they are interested in admitting. And if you reach out to them, the conversation, for me, I like getting to know people, right? I like getting to know people and getting to understand the rationale behind why they want to attend this particular school. I'm not admissions officer to try to understand why MBA and what are your long-term and short-term goals. I'm not interested in that. But if you reach out to the person, look at the person as a human being, try to have like small talks or like interesting conversation about the school, about some of the things they do in the school. Like, one of the most interesting conversations have been people asking me about something that we do every Thursday evening that they've heard of or they read on the school's website, or about the case study, or like just let the person know you've done your research about the school and some of the extracurricular activities in the school, and you really want to know more about the school and not the whole robotic business school talk. I think like your point is to get the person to like you, and that kind of conversation goes a long way when you are doing recruitment, because you are going to do a lot of networking when you are doing recruitment. And if you start learning how to make small talks with people that you've probably never met before, and how to ask questions that suggest that you are interested in whatever they are doing and where you want to go, it will make it easier for people to like you and to make recommendations about you when the opportunity comes. So I would say that just try and ask the person genuine questions about like the school and what you want to know about the school and all those things. Like, don't go into detail like, okay, so tell me about operations management, how does it work? Like, it's you get to know that the person probably wants to forget about those things. Just ask about like some of the social stuff in a school, and yeah, that's what gets the conversation going. And yeah, sorry, and about the rejection, I got rejected. No, yeah, I was waitlisted in Stanford. I didn't hear about them again, and yeah, I don't know why they waitlisted me, but yeah, it be like that sometimes.
Yes, Joseph, over to you.
I mean, interesting one. I think I'll start from the second question, right? And like, come on, like it's one of those things. Like it's you win some, you gain some, you lose some. You know, nobody really. I mean, some people get into all the schools they apply to, some don't. So when I first did mine, I interviewed at Wharton, but I didn't get in. I was rejected at Harvard and at Stanford. Maybe they just didn't like my application. I think the first time I applied to business school, generally, like I was saying, and I think everybody should kind of like put that into perspective, is it's more than your score. So you want to like focus on your story a bit more. You want to like reach out to people a bit more. So I did my exam on December 16th, and I put in my application within 2 weeks, right? So it was all a rush story and stuff. So I don't know. I got to Wharton for interviews, but I never went forward. But when I applied again, I applied to Kellogg, and I applied to Kellogg at first. I got into Kellogg, but then I really just changed my strategy. I just thought to myself that I don't want to go to the US. I wanted to be in London for personal and professional reasons. So I then applied to London Business School, and then got it. So I think it happens. Like you win some, you lose some. So don't take it personally. It's not an opinion on you. It's just there's so many people applying, and there's so many great people out there, right? So you just want to cut it to the top. Second one about reaching out to alum. If I'm understanding this question correctly, you're referring to alumni, right? I think that's like
I believe that also includes students as well.
Yeah. So I was just going to rearrange the pecking order a bit, right? That you want to always like reach out to first and second year students before you start thinking about an alumni communication. And I think actually when you're trying to evaluate business school, like talking to alumni, you want to have more things to talk about more than like the experience in the school, because it's a bit dated. Plus, you want to really drill down to how you are trying to use that to make professional decisions. So how has the school really helped their career? How has the school really, changed their perspective, right? So you want like alumni type communication rather than people like student type communication. But the ones I get most is students, because I'm a student, right? And when you reach out to students, and I think when people reach out to me, one thing I think people do wrong a lot of times is they're just reaching out. They really haven't done a lot of research, right? They're just asking very, random questions that are very generic that can apply to any school, right? So if you're reaching out to me because I'm an LBS student, at least I want you to have done a bit, research around LBS, even around like the MBA thing. People reach out to me and they're like, oh, they want to do the GMAT. What's the GMAT really about? I'm like, can you be more specific, right? Because then again, if everybody does that, then it's just time. But people, one thing I know and one thing I've discovered is people are really excited to talk about their schools. They're really excited to talk about the experiences they're having in the MBA program. And they're really excited to talk to people that are trying to use that to make a decision, right? So you can kind of see us in a way as marketing officers, right? So if you're not trying to, make a decision on my product, I don't see why I'm trying to talk to you, because it's not going to be an interesting conversation. But if you're trying to make an interesting conversation because you're trying to make a decision, because you have like decision points, you have, things you're looking at. So if you're saying, oh, I want to get into this particular industry, how is that happening? How does LBS help people? I've read of XYZ. Is that really true? Have you seen it work? It's just a very interesting conversation to have, and people are willing to talk to you the first, second, and third time, right? And it's very good practice because, like Samuel said, one thing you discover that I never learned while being in Nigeria is that, it's all about networking. Like getting a job, getting an internship, it's all about networking, and you want to, start making those practices. And even schools are very sensitive to that, right? So if they see that you've really not spoken to a lot of their students, or you've not really had an interaction with the school, they are very, not very excited about you, like someone who is able to say, I spoke to XYZ and I'm able to learn about ABC, things like that. So I would say just have an agenda, do some sort of research and be very, clear about what you're trying to get from the call. I think that are important stuff when you're talking to students.
Thank you very much, Samuel and Joseph. You guys have been very insightful today, and I'm sure everyone can attest to the fact that this conversation has been helpful. I'm sure a number of people would like to reach out to you. So if you don't mind them reaching out, you can just type in the best way to reach out to you so they can further their question. And as you guys reach out to Samuel and Joseph, please be respectful of their time. Like they say, don't ask for, give me 2 hours of your time. Start with 15, 20. And if that goes beyond that, that yes, they are more than happy to extend the time. But like they said, going with something, going with a question in mind. Don't just go in, okay, you did a webinar. Yeah, I just wanted to touch base with you. Just touch base, but don't set up a call if that's what you want to do. So Samuel, thank you very much. I love your t-shirt, by the way, Charlie. I saw that. And Joseph, thank you very much for your time. I'm really, really grateful we got this opportunity to talk about this topic. So on that note, I say goodbye to everyone. Have a wonderful evening or have a wonderful day wherever it is you're calling from.
All right, bye everyone. Thanks for having me.
All right,
bye.
all right.